everybody, welcome back to our channel. Before I get into today's video, let's roll the intro.
Come here, girl. Go ahead, be gone with it. Come to the back. Go ahead, be gone with it. VIP. Go ahead, be gone with it. Drinks on me. Go ahead, be gone with it. Twerking with. Go ahead, be gone with it. Look at those lips. Go ahead, be gone with it. You make me smile. Go ahead, be gone with it. Go ahead, child. Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out. Go ahead, be gone with it. Get your sexy out.
So yes, it is only me in today's video, as you can see. This won't be happening probably ever again on our channel, but I really want to do this video and I want to share my story with you guys, so this is just a one-time thing. So as you guys know, I gave birth on September 30th to Aria and Isla. I do have a labor and delivery vlog on our channel for you guys to go and watch. That was an experience that I knew from the day that I found out I was pregnant that I wanted to share. Even if I didn't upload it on YouTube, I knew I wanted to record it and capture the moment because I knew it was going to be insane. But with that being said, looking back at the video, I feel like I never really truly got to share my experience. So I feel like with the platform I have, I'm really lucky to be able to share my experience with you guys and to anyone who's interested in what I went through. So this is my birth story. However, I'm going to backtrack a little bit to 10 days before I actually went into the hospital. A few incidents led up to me actually giving birth. So 10 days before I gave birth, me and Alonzo were actually in a car accident. I don't think a lot of people know this, and I don't think anyone connected that to when I actually went into labor, but it does correlate to each other a lot. If you guys do want to go back and watch the video of when we actually got in a car accident, you guys can. So when I was 34 weeks pregnant, I had gotten into a car accident with Alonzo. We were going to get ice cream and someone ran the red light and hit us. I was really scared for the babies and just everything. I didn't know if anything could have been wrong that I wasn't actually feeling. So once Alonzo got home, we went to the ER. After like 40 minutes of being there, I was having very frequent contractions. I had no contractions up until that night that I had the accident. So basically the accident had caused a high level of stress. I had to be monitored 2 nights because on top of that, I was already 1.5 centimeters dilated. So they needed to see if I was in active labor and I was going to keep dilating. During our stay at the hospital, we 100% thought that I was giving birth. Alonzo had gone home and got all of our bags. We were ready to transfer over to the hospital that we wanted to give birth at. Luckily, the next day when she checked me, I was still 1.5 centimeters dilated. So we ended up getting to go home. Ever since that day, I was having contractions all of the time. The 10 days in between that to giving birth, I was in so much pain. My back hurt, my feet felt like I was carrying 1,000 pounds on me. Like, they throbbed so badly. Fast forwarding into the moment that I decided I was ready to go to the hospital. Because of the car accident, I had to take my car an hour away. So that morning we made the drive to drop off my car at the auto body shop. I was in a lot of pain in the car. So we were driving home and he was like, okay, let's get some food, let's go home. The last thing I want to do is go to the hospital and have them monitor me and then send me back home because I'm not actually in labor. So I was like, let's go home, I'll lay down, I'll try and take a nap, I'll see how I feel, I'll see if the pain gets better, because sometimes it was just because I was having a long day, and if I laid down or rest for a second, the contractions would calm down, and if I drank water. Our last video before our labor video is actually him packing our hospital bag, which is a video I was so excited to do, but I didn't get to do it. You guys should go watch that video because he actually tells you like what was happening in that moment. But anyways, so I was resting, and then after he was done filming the video, he came in and he was like, okay, so what do you want to do? And I was like, okay, I think we need to go. Like, the contractions aren't stopping, I don't feel good, my legs are hurting, my feet are hurting, everything was hurting. I was in so much pain. I was like, even if I'm not in labor, I want to go to the hospital because I don't feel good. We got all the bags ready, like just put together because they were already pretty much packed. And I freaked out and started nesting. Last minute, I literally changed our whole room around. 8 months pregnant, I picked up the bed, I moved the bed, I was moving everything. And just so you guys know, our bed is not heavy and Alonzo was helping me. So we got in the car and we went into labor and delivery at the hospital that's right by your house. It's like a minute away. They took my blood pressure and right away the doctor was panicked. She was like, your blood pressure is really high. And like I told you guys, I had 2 doctor's appointments every single week up till then, and not once was my blood pressure any higher than the normal rate. I told her that that's not normal for me, and she was like, okay, well, you're gonna have to stay here for about 2 hours while we monitor you because you can have preeclampsia. The whole time it was high, so it was pretty clear that I had preeclampsia. She told me that I would have to give birth very soon if they couldn't get my blood pressure down. She said she wanted to admit me into the hospital and get me all ready to give birth. I told her that I didn't want to give birth there. I already had a birth plan to go to a hospital that was an hour away. I said I could be transported, I could drive there, but I had to get there. And I obviously didn't want to take any chances or risks knowing that I had preeclampsia, but I knew I needed to get there because the NICU was a really good NICU and I knew they were going to be premature. The lady basically avoided us for like an hour. She was not happy about it. She was upset the whole time. It was a very hostile environment, which sucked because it made me uncomfortable. She was just making it very weird, almost as if I couldn't just leave, and I knew I could leave. So she came back and she was obviously upset. She was like, I have to get you papers because you have to sign that you're leaving against our advice and that you know the risks. So she left the room, took another like 30 minutes. She finally got back. I signed the paper right away. She was like, okay, you can go. So we left, we got in the car, we stopped by at home for like 5 minutes, picked up all of our bags, and we went straight to the hospital. They knew I was coming. They were like, okay, let's get you in a room for an assessment. I was in this really small room in a lot of pain for about 2 hours, I'd say. My blood pressure was still dangerously high. So after a lot of them monitoring me and me in a lot of pain, at this point, I was in so much more pain than I was at the beginning of the day. Like, I was in a lot of pain. So they admitted me into the hospital. At this point, I was in the hospital until I gave birth, because whether or not they could get my blood pressure down, all it was doing was moving back the actual date that I was gonna give birth one day at a time. They just wanted the babies in there as long as they could hold them in there. Every single day, every single hour mattered, so they wanted to keep them in there as long as possible. I did too, just to clear any confusion up. When you have preeclampsia and your blood pressure is really high and everything, the only way to fix it is to get the babies out. By the end of the first day, they were like, okay, your blood pressure is not going down. My entire body was swollen. Like, I can't even describe to you guys. If you guys look at the labor video, you can see like the difference in my face now to then is insane. Oh god, I can't even look at it. So at the end of this day, that's when things started to get real. That's when my anxiety levels shot straight up and I was freaking out. She told me that my blood pressure was too high and that they had to induce my labor. She was very supportive about me giving vaginal birth, which I loved so much, because the last thing I wanted was to already kind of be nervous about something and then have a doctor just not encourage me at all and tell me that I should do a C-section. So that night they induced me. She told me that the process could take up to 2 days. I think mine only took a day till I actually gave birth. So when they induce you, they put a little balloon thing in your vagina. She put it in me. It took hours until it could finally come out. That was very uncomfortable. I hated it 100%. It was really just a weird feeling. Like, I felt like the balloon was gonna fall out all the time. When she put it in, she told me when she would come to take it out that I should be around 5 centimeters dilated. And when she came and took it out the next day, I was 8 centimeters dilated. And this is when they told me that it was time, that I was gonna be giving birth in a couple hours. I had really bad anxiety and I was so nervous and scared the whole time. So it was really hard to like remain calm. And I also shake really badly when I get nervous. So like there was times where my whole body was shaking, like I couldn't stop it. And when they told me that it was time to give birth, I started crying because I was so nervous. Like I was so nervous. So like I would shake and I would cry. I did choose to do an epidural. So the anesthesiologist came in about 30 minutes before I started like practice pushing, and she gave me the epidural. That was not that bad. I thought it was gonna be worse. So now going into the part where I had to start practice pushing. This is a part that was really crazy to me, and I didn't even know that this is something that had to be done. When you gave birth, I didn't know there was any such thing as practice pushing. So with practice pushing, you are trying to get it so that the baby's head is already in the birth canal, so that when you're actually ready to push the baby out, it's already there. So the doctor comes in and you're actually gonna be able to get the baby out. I practice pushed what felt like 5 hours, but I know it wasn't 5 hours. It was probably like 45 minutes-ish, somewhere around there. I don't know, I was out of it. But I would say about 40 minutes I was practice pushing. Everyone was in the room. I liked that part because everyone got to be in the room, like my mom, my sisters, Alonzo's mom. Because it's twins, I had no other choice but to give birth in an OR in case I had to go into an emergency C-section, and in an OR only Alonzo can go in. Me and him were happy to have it with just us because it was really sentimental and special just to have only me and him there. I just want to say, this sounds dumb, but the whole time I was being induced, I literally thought the baby was gonna fall out my vagina. I said it multiple times and everyone in there made fun of me for it, and now I know why. But the whole time, I swear I thought the baby was gonna fall out of my vagina. That's what it felt like. My labor and delivery nurse was my best friend. Her name was Raven. I loved her. So I was pushing and I realized, holy shit, like how am I going to do this twice? By the time I was done with practice pushing and she told me that I was ready to go to the OR and actually deliver the babies, I was exhausted. Oh my god, I don't know why I'm getting emotional at this part. That's just kind of when everything started sinking in. I was being wheeled out and I was so scared and I was so out of it because of the practice pushing. And I remember thinking in my head like, I can't believe I'm about to do this. I just knew from this point on there was no going back. I was going to give birth to the babies the way that I chose to do it, and whatever happened happened, and that scared the shit out of me. When I was being wheeled there, I was just thinking like, it's time. Like, you were gonna push both of these babies out and it's happening. There's no going back. So I got into the OR and I'm not even sure how long it took to push out Aria. I think it was about an hour. Once Aria came out, this is when things got really bad. This is the part of my experience that like I could never describe to anybody. Like it was really, really bad. Like exactly what any mother is thinking, like, oh my god, like I gave birth to one, I can't imagine having to do it right after. Like it was terrible. Aria was out and I was so relieved because it was hard. Like it was way harder than I expected. And once she was out, I was so relieved. I was so excited that she was there. I wanted to see her and stuff. But at the same time, I had 1,000 other thoughts going through my head. I was like, I'm in pain. Like, how am I going to do that again? That was so hard. And then the main problem, what made it all very hard, was that I was so worried about Isla. This was the main concern about a vaginal birth, is once baby A was out, you had to think about the risks for baby B. That concern just never left my head the entire pregnancy. And so in this moment, it was really bad. And on top of that, I was in so much pain. I don't think a lot of people know that there's a 2-hour difference between the girls. Like baby A got out and she's literally floating around. She literally started kicking and moving around and playing in my belly, like in the new space that she had. I felt like I was dying. I literally felt like I was dying. After I delivered Aria, my contractions went away completely, so they had to give me medicine to start my contractions up again. I was laying there and that medicine makes me really hot, like if you have a fever hot, and I was so uncomfortable. I was like heated up. The doctors wouldn't let me have any water, so up until I went into the OR, I was eating ice chips, and I still had a cup of it. I was telling Lonzo like I need something, like he was like dabbing like the water around my face. Once the contractions started up again, I would try and push here and there, but it was just not working. She was not going down at all. Like her head was pretty much down, but she just wasn't going. Like they were trying to push her and she wasn't going, so I was having contractions, and even if I pushed, it was doing nothing. She finally got down enough to where it was time to get her out, and I was in so much pain. So my doctor that delivered Aria had left the OR like right after I delivered Aria basically, and she realized my contractions had gone away. She left, so I was with the nurses the entire time. So Isla's doctor finally came in and she was like, we're doing it, and I was out of it. I was like, girl, no, we're not. I can't do this. Like I don't think anyone understands that I was on the verge of telling them that I needed a C-section. Like I truly didn't think I could do it. I was in my head, I was like, I can't believe this is happening. So at this point I was thinking in my head like, I think I'm gonna have to ask them to do a C-section for Isla. Like I can't do it. I don't think my body is going to be able to push her out. Like I don't think I can do it mentally or physically. The doctor came into the room and she was like, okay, like I remember her voice, she was like, okay, let's get this baby out, and I was like, I'm literally dying. So she came in, she was so encouraging. She was like, this is happening right now. She got ready and she was like, okay, let's push. I was pushing. She literally reached her hand, I'm sorry, but she reached her hand up my vagina and she like literally pulled her out. Like it was like, we're getting this done. And I was like, yes, like that's what I needed, because I felt like I was psyching myself out. So when she came in with that energy, it saved it. Like I'm positive if there was a doctor there that didn't have her energy, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So she did that and I was like, yes, like I can do it. So I pushed and she finally got her out. I did tear because it was my first time giving birth, and although they were really small babies, yeah, I just tore. So after I delivered Isla, she started stitching me up. When Isla came out, I was just so relieved. Once I knew she was okay and they took her away from me, I lay there in so much relief. I was crying. I was like, Like, I couldn't believe what I had done. I had thought of this moment for so long, and the pain that I went through just made me feel so accomplished and proud, and it made it so special. I would do it 1,000 times over again. Anyone that knows me literally knows that I always wanted to be a mom, and that I would talk about that specific moment so often. Like, before I even got pregnant, I was just like, the day that I give birth to my child and they lay them on top of me, like, that will be the best moment of my life. And that, hands down, is the best moment of my life. So after I got to meet Isla, they took her and they cleaned her up and everything. They were cleaning me up and they had to switch me onto this other bed so that they can wheel me out of the room. While they were doing all of this, Alonso was notifying all of our family that everything was okay and that I had finally delivered Isla. They put me on a different bed, and then we got into this other small room, and I got to be with them, and I got to breastfeed them, and I got to hold them skin to skin. They were so small. It was so amazing. Like, that was the best thing ever. Every single thing that comes along with being pregnant and giving birth just goes away when you hold your child. If there's anybody watching this who is going to give birth soon, or is pregnant, or thinking about getting pregnant, I hope that this inspires you a little bit and lets you know that it's okay to be scared or nervous. Your body is so strong and you can do it, and when you're done doing it and you're done going through hell, you're gonna feel the best you've ever felt. Thank you guys so much for listening to my story. One day I will be able to tell this whole story to Arya and Isla 1,000 times. I don't care if they don't want to hear it, because they're gonna hear it all the time. We do have a special video for 50K subscribers coming up next, but before that, I just want to say thank you guys so much. We all love you, and we'll see you for that video. Bye!